For a moment, a man was in my garden. He was excited by the sun's warmth and felt its circular shape reflect within him. This gave him confidence, and with a newfound love he began to explore the greenery. Bark, blooms, branches, and leaves. Against them his fingers were feathers, and he quickly caught an updraft, laughing amongst the cradles of its wind and weathers. Through the corners of his eyes he discovered an apple tree below. A childlike wonder of red and green covered its branches that gathered into one, protruded the earth, and spread once again to roots of molten lava. The man tilted his shoulder, and with 2 or 3 downward swoops, his feet quickly found the ground. He stood before the tree, proudly said, I will call this tree an apple tree. And with the word still vibrating the air, he plucked a fruit from its wing. He grasped the fruit, he breathed on it, and was delighted when onto its skin his breath turned into water. Immediately after, the fruit was consumed with the whites of his smile. Yes, delicious. In the weeks that followed, the man repeated this process, and unbeknown to him or his knowledge, the apple tree began to decline in both fruit and size. Whether this was due to the daily harvesting of its apples or because, as time went on, the man flew less and less frequently, we cannot be sure. Perhaps it was a combination of the two. Fortunately for the man, this mattered not, as parallel with the withering of the apple tree, his skin began to crispen and crack. His feet became more and more rooted to the heat of the ground, and onto his ever-extending fingers, green and red settled like snow. This was an excellent development, as, for the first time, the man was no longer dependent on the tree's bitter fruit. He could now gorge on his own, and for every bite he grew larger, smarter and stronger. At this point in our story, there are 2 vital pieces of information that have been tragically lost. The first, for how long had the man eaten his own fruit? People estimate figures of up to 1,000 years. The truth, however, nobody knows. The second, what was it that made the man stop? Because he did eventually stop for whatever reason, and when he did, he looked out across the garden. It was cold to the touch. A thick layer of snow smothered the once luscious greenery. Where was once bark is now ice. Where was once blooms is now ice. Where was once branches is now ice. Where once were leaves. The man opened his eyes with a start. He could make out a Morrison's tucked behind an abstracted R, K, E and T. After a few futile attempts at getting the heaters in the pub garden to work, he became suddenly aware of his hunger and decided, proudly, to visit the £3 meal deal section. As he was returning to the pub, he wondered whether his life would be more exciting if instead of holding an egg and cress sandwich, he was holding, say, a mint chocolate chip ice cream. Unfortunately, this train of thought was quickly extinguished by the din of inane chatter that saturates the air in pubs such as these. The man made his way once again to the first floor, where he was just in time to catch the band's sound check. For a while, he enjoyed the excitement and anticipation on their innocent faces, but it wasn't long before he felt the familiar nicotine itch in his arms and legs. Figuring a cigarette might help aid the digestion of beige pap that was currently taking place in his stomach, he returned to the garden. He fumbled with his lighter for a while, but eventually found the switch. He fumbled with the pub garden heaters once more.